As you already know, the UK left the EU political structures and the European Parliament on January 31st in 2020. Now, some Brexiteers blame the government for not implementing Brexit properly, and other people want the UK to join the EU again. But the EU, of course, moved forward after the UK left, and so in the next weeks I will make a test here on the channel by bringing you some news about the EU in my midday videos, and I mean current stuff. That will keep people informed what the UK left and what others want to return to. And I do this so they can make informed decisions and give the whole thing a more fact-based approach. And since my magazine channel is reserved for information on the development of the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine for the time being, that is another reason to do this here. But I anyway believe that exactly my audience on this channel needs this kind of information. And look out for the new EU playlist. But now let's talk about today's topic. The European Commission has presented the summer 2023 economic forecast. The EU economy continues to grow, albeit with reduced momentum. The forecast revises growth in the EU economy down to 0.8% in 23 from 1% projected in the spring forecast and 1.4% in 24. It also revises growth in the euro area down to 0.8% in 23 and 1.3% in 2024. Inflation is expected to continue to decline over the forecast horizon. Harmonized index of consumer prices inflation is now projected to reach 6.5% in 23 and 3.2% in 24. In the euro area, inflation is forecast to be 5.6 in 23 and 2.9 in 24. And latest data confirmed that economic activity in the EU was subdued in the first half of 23 on the back of the formidable shocks that the EU has endured. Weakness in domestic demand, in particular consumption, shows that high and still increasing consumer prices for most goods and services are taking a heavier toll than expected in the spring forecast. And this is despite declining energy prices and an exceptionally strong labor market, which has seen record low unemployment rates, but also continued expansion of employment and rising wages. Meanwhile, the sharp slowdown in the provision of bank credit to the economy shows that monetary policy tightening is working its way through the economy. Survey indicators now point to slowing economic activity in the summer and the months ahead, with continued weakness in industry and fading momentum in services, despite a strong tourism season in many parts of Europe. The global economy has fared somewhat better than anticipated in the first half of the year, despite a weaker performance in China. However, the outlook for global growth and trade remains broadly unchanged compared to spring, implying that the EU economy cannot count on strong support from external demand. Overall, the weaker growth momentum in the EU is expected to extend to 2024, and the impact of tight monetary policy is set to continue restraining economic activity. However, a mild rebound in growth is projected next year. As inflation keeps easing, the labor market remains robust, and real incomes gradually recover. Inflation continued easing in the first half of 23 as a result of declining energy prices and moderating inflationary pressures from food and industrial goods. In the euro area, it reached 5.3% in July, exactly half of the peak level of 10.6 recorded in October 22, and remained stable in August. Energy prices are set to continue declining for the remainder of 23, but at a slowing pace. They are projected to increase slightly again in 24, driven by higher oil prices. Inflation in services has so far been more persistent than previously expected, but it is set to continue moderating as demand softens under the impact of monetary policy tightening and a fading post-COVID boost. The prices of food and non-energy industrial goods will continue contributing to easing inflation over the forecast horizon, also reflecting lower input prices and normalizing supply chains. Russia's ongoing war of aggression against Ukraine and wider geopolitical tensions continue to pose risks and remain a source of uncertainty. Furthermore, monetary tightening may weigh on economic activity more heavily than expected, but could also lead to a faster decline in inflation that would accelerate the restoration of real incomes. By contrast, price pressures could turn out more persistent. Mounting climate risks, illustrated by the extreme weather conditions and unprecedented wildfires and floods in the summer, also weigh on the outlook. The Summer 23 Economic Forecast provides an update of the Spring 2023 Economic Forecast, which was presented in May 2023. This is an interim forecast containing GDP and inflation projections for the 6 largest EU member state economies, the euro area, and the EU as a whole. The latest developments in economics for 21 other member states are addressed in the overall analysis and are factored into the calculation of the EU and the euro area aggregates. The summer forecast is based on a set of technical assumptions concerning exchange rates, interest rates, and commodity prices with a cutoff date of August 30th. For all other incoming data, including assumptions about government policies, this forecast takes into account the consideration information up until and including September 7th. The Commission publishes 2 comprehensive forecasts, that's spring and autumn, and 2 interim forecasts, that's winter and summer each year. The 2023 edition of the summer forecast was presented later than on previous occasions to enable it to incorporate several key data releases in July and August. The Commission's next forecast will be the autumn 2023 economic forecast. This is scheduled to be published in November 23. And if you want to know something else right now, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.